Welcome to Bitter Reality Brewing. This is the Brewtubers 2021 Saison Yeast Experiment, Video 3, Part 2 of the taste testing, Part 3 of the total series. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail in this video, so you'll want to step back to at least Video 2, which I'll put up here. That way you can step back and then come back and join us. And we're only going to go over the last 4 because we already did the first 4, and there were 8 total different Saisons. Basically the same recipe, just kind of a quick summary. Same recipe, different yeasts, pretty close to the same guidelines as far as the brewing process. I'm going to mention the brewers and their brewery names, but before we do that, don't forget like, subscribe, keep sharing. Definitely appreciate the sharing. First of all, first one right off the bat. This is Under the Table Brewing, Tapout Brewing, Lazy Otter Brewing, kind of a cool little name. And then this is me being lazy. I thought I was helping people out, giving them a nice bottle. They could rinse the thing off, but this is Bitter Reality Brewing Saisons. Somebody did say it was pretty good, so maybe that iron content settled out since I was doing some beta testing, and yeah, not my best work, but hey, it is what it is. So before we jump into this, I have some Brewtuber sponsors that we're gonna kick in, let it play, and we'll jump right back.
This is the 2021 Brewtubers Online Brewers Club Yeast Experiment number 2, Saison. Thank you to our sponsors, Imperial Yeast, 5 Star Chemicals, Beer and Wine Hobby Homebrew Supply Store, Brewing America, all stainless steel mash paddle sponsors. Also Hopsteiner and Yakima Chief Hops. Get brewing.
Okay, we're back. Sliding this out of the way. Sliding this out of the way, and we'll take it to the fridge later. I'm not in a hurry to run to the fridge. So this is Under the Table Brewing. This is Nate. He used Omega 500 Sasionstein's Monster Yeast, but from Omega, 1 package, no starter, 5.5 gallon batch size in a Grainfather G30, a little newer one, 120 volt, 150 mash temp, 5.4 on the pH, 1.064 on the original gravity, not too shabby, 72 Fahrenheit for the fermentation temperature, which gave him a 1.004 final gravity, which is really nice, kicking him all the way up to almost a 7.9, 7.875. So we'll call it 7.9. But yeah, I mean, and he's using a Dogfish Head bottle, which I'm impressed because I have problems with these cracking right around the head because of the tapering. I quit using them. I don't have a problem with the beer or the bottle. I just won't reuse it. There we go. And actually, I haven't used Omega's 500, so a little curious here. It smells like a Pilsner Saison, very typical. No, I'm not busting, just very typical smell. Nice golden yellow. Very, very clear. Actually, it looks like me lagering it for a while has let any kind of yeast, and there's a little bit of yeast, but it's all settled and kind of frozen up in there. So I'll hold that a little still for you. Get a little haze to it, which, it's a Saison. Not an uncommon thing, especially with any type of Belgian yeasts or French for Saisons. It's pretty clear towards the bottom, but definitely get a little haze going on. I get that little bit of spice and esters like you normally would from any kind of Belgian beer. Very typical, but very, very mild, but still obvious. And I smell the Pilsner. I didn't smell the Pilsner except for, and I think it was Big Dog Brewing, which was the first of the second video. It was the first one around. I smelled that Pilsner. Got a lot of spice going on, which is good. I like spice, so no problem there. Got a little of that typical bubble gum, as I call it, that I get in a lot of the Belgians, but as long as it's kind of subdued, it's not so bad. In the triples, it can get a little in your face, especially if you have that as your first beer of the night. Yeah, sometimes that bubble gum just jumps out and smacks you in the head, and it is what it is, but I'm not a huge bubblegum fan, so I don't mind it if it's a little bit, but it's got to be subdued. But it's got some nice spice going on. I've definitely got the spice. Okay, I think I see something floating down there, which is probably a hint of the yeast. I told you I could see the yeast was kind of caking, which is awesome. If you're bottle conditioning, that's the way you want to go. So he did a forced carbonation, but there's always a little yeast in there. I got a lot of spice, and I mean a lot. Like, I love spice. This would be good with maybe something a little more of a malty backbone. Just like all the spice going on, and I haven't had anything. That's why I like 565. I get a little fruit with a lot of spice, but he's got a lot of spice going on. I mean, it's very spicy. My mind's going right now. What can I use this for? What can I use this for? I get a little bit of the stone fruit. I get a little bit of, I guess, almost a hint of citrus. Tiny hint of citrus. I don't know if that's orange or like a rind of probably a little bit more of a grapefruit. I think they call it pith, but more the rind of the grapefruit. I didn't notice that in the others. Very nice. I love the spice. Got to find a way to put that in maybe a Belgian IPA with all that spice going on. Or mix the yeast with something that's got a lot more fruit esters, so it kind of balances out and lets some of the fruit come forward while the spices are kind of standing out too. On to the next one. Now we got Tapout Brewing, and I have to show you, he calls it a Saison. Kind of cute. French Saison. Hey, he's out of Naples, Florida. I'm in Florida, Jacksonville. But this is Tapout Brewing. This is Gary. He's using White Labs 590. Actually, I've watched Gary brew several times on his videos, so actually I know exactly who Gary is. Off the top of my head, I'm like, wait a minute. He's got the nice little porch and the brewery set up. Yeah. He used 590 White Labs, 1 package, no starter, 6-gallon batch, 2-tier, 3-vessel electric HERMS system. Got typed HERMS. I'm not sure if it's a HERMS or a RIMS or a little bit of both, but that's kind of weird. 150 Fahrenheit, 5.3 pH, 1.066 original gravity, 75 fermentation temp, at 1.009, so we got a little body here, which is nice, but still sitting at about 7.48, about 7.5% ABV. So that magic point where I say somewhere around 7, flavors just seem to always stand out really nice. Okay, we got a little foam, but not that bad. There's certain commercial beers that I get that always foam, like massively. This just had a little bit, so it's probably done a little can conditioning. And that's how I do it. I pour it out the backside at the same time. Could pour 2 glasses with 1 can. It's looking incredibly clear. And we'll clean that up real quick. That's why I always have paper towels. Because I'm a slob and accident prone all at the same time. That's just how that works. Yeah, I'm talking like crazy clear. If I had to, I'd say there's a hint of haze, but it's really, really, really clear. I can't remember if I have White Labs 590. I'm going to say probably not. I have a lot of the White Labs Belgian yeasts, but I don't recall having 590 off the top of my head. I don't know that smell. It's a little different. They got a hint of Pilsner, but I want to say it's like a subdued Belgian yeast smell. It smells different. It's not what I'm used to. Okay. Gary, we're going to have to talk. There's something going on and I can't quite pin it down, but it's very smooth. It's very nice. Got a little spice, definitely has stone fruit right on the beginning of the palate. You taste a little bit of some peach, maybe a hint of pear. And it's a little bit pepper. I mean, a hint, very subtle hint. But there's something going on and I'm trying to figure it out here. Might be the hops, because like I said, I'm not real familiar with the main hop that I used in there. The other two I use in stouts or British beers. I think it just has a lot of stone fruit sitting right on the beginning. It's kind of a blend of the peach and the pear. And then it's got a little bit of spice, but I kind of get the spice on the sides of my tongue. I know it sounds strange, but it is what it is. I mean, it's what I taste. But the aroma is much more subdued than probably the majority of the ones I've tried out of this entire Brewtubers 2021 Saison yeast experiment. It's just very subdued, but I want to say it's probably the hops I'm smelling. It's that different odor, but a lot of fruit right on the front, a little burn with some spice and acidity. It's no different than a lot of the others. Some were a little more acidic, some were not as acidic, but it stands out a little. It's got a nice burn to it, which I like. I mean, I don't like soda, and I know soda has that burn, and when I did, I was all good with it, but it's very nice. Seems to have a little more mouthfeel. I think that's part of it too. Compared to under the table, it definitely has more mouthfeel. I'll eventually figure out there's something else going on there that I'm missing, and it's driving me nuts, and it's just gonna have to be the way it is. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, it's that time. Lazy Otter Brewing. My favorite name out of all the brewing names. No offense to everybody else, just kind of a cool name. But this is Nikhil, if I'm saying that correctly, Nikhil. He's using a Belgian Saison from Wyeast 3724. Don't think I have that one. But anything I don't have or I've never used, I like to try because, like I said, I've never used it, don't have it. He did one package, no starter, Grainfather G30, again, 120 volt, 151 mash temp, 5.4 pH, 1.060 for original gravity, 75 Fahrenheit fermentation, which was one of two. The last one was fermented at that same warmer temperature. Final gravity of 1.006, ending at at 7.0875. So about 7.1% ABV. I like the plastic bottle. It just, to me, it's a safer way of shipping. Oh wow, that is a fresh lid too. I may not get to drink it because I may not be able to open it. There we go. Lots of bubbles rushing to the top. Yeah, I was afraid, no offense, Nikhil, but I was afraid I was going to have a little bit of a carb bomb because this thing was literally bulging, but settled right down. I get that, I call it the warm Pilsner smell, and I'm not sure why. Looking really nice. Ooh. Yeah, a little more in there than I can pour in there. And he did have a rear label. It fell off, but it has just basic information. Although it says fermented at 78 to 85 to help with a more dominant Saison. So what was documented and what happened, I guess maybe this was done later. Had the paper towel ready. Okay, a little more subdued again, but it stands out a little bit more than Gary's Tapout. I can smell the malts, but I'm not saying the Pilsner. The Pilsner I can smell, but I want to say it was a caramel we put in there. I can't even remember the malts off the top of my head, but that's what I smell. I taste more caramel. I get spice. I get a hint of stone fruit, but I get that caramel. I smell and taste the caramel. The yeast kind of helped that malt stand out. It's kind of like a malty Saison. And the mouthfeel is very mild. It's not a heavy mouthfeel. It's kind of between, I'm gonna say between light and medium, right in the middle. So medium light, light medium, however you want to say it. But the malts, I haven't noticed the malts beyond the Pilsner in any of them, and some I haven't even hardly noticed the malts, but, or we say adjuncts, are standing out massively. And it's not in a bad way, it's just different. Just nice malty Saison. And the malts aren't overpowering, they're just standing out. I've got a little fruit in the background. It's very subdued. I couldn't nail it. I could guess some stone fruit, but it's very subdued. The spice is there. I get a little of that. I get carbonation. I get definitely some of the acidic burn, just very mild. Nothing like Tapout. Tapout had a nice burn right in the sides. Even under the table, a little more burn. I'm a big malt fan, so to me, it's nice, and it's a nice change of pace too, which is really nice because it's the only one out of all the ones I've tried so far that really kind of stood out on its own in a different way. So kudos, Nikhil. It doesn't look malty, but I can taste the malts. I mean, they're just nice and smooth. So great job. Let's move on to the scary one. It's that time. Brewtubers 2021 from Bitter Reality Brewing. One of my favorite yeasts, especially for Belgians, like Saisons or anything Saison really, is White Labs 565. Just really love White Labs 565 when it comes to Belgian Saisons. And I used one package with a starter, and I don't even think it was fresh. I think I've had it for probably going on a good 1.5 to 2 years. You can just keep it going about every 3 to 6 months. I use, of course, an Anvil Foundry, 240 volt, set to 240. Did a 2.5, used a small batch adapter and did a 2.5 gallon batch. 150 for the mash, 5.29 on the pH, 1.066 original gravity, 72 fermentation temp on average, 1.006, giving me a 7.87, almost a 7.9. Forced carbonation at about 12 psi. Tried to push it up higher, but decided to go down to 12 psi. Like I said, I kind of kept it simple. I'm not looking forward to this because, like I said, I had some beta testing and got a little iron in there. And initially, it didn't taste that good. Maybe settling and maybe sitting for a little while, but somebody said it tasted pretty good. They might have been kind. I don't know. Not my best work from my original tasting. So let's see if it's matured. Got a nice Saison smell. Well, I did good on head and head retention, and crazy crystal clear. And I do mean crystal clear. I can't remember. I'd have to look back at the video, but I probably put Clarity Firm in there. I'm huge on the Clarity Firm for 2 reasons. One, yeah, it does come out clearer, but number 2, when I share my beers out, if someone says they're gluten intolerant, I tell them it's their call, but that way I know I can share it with anybody and everybody around me and not have to worry about hurting anybody. But yeah, looks very clear. Okay, I get my spice right off the bat, just a little bit. It's hard to smell it through the foam, but 565, it's like known for it, which is what I like a lot. Okay. Still not my best work. I'm still not impressed. Maybe I am my worst critic, but I'm not impressed. But I get the stone fruit. I definitely had peach. Don't know if I'd taste the pear, but I definitely taste the peach. The spice is a little mild for the 565. I didn't ferment as warm. It was at 72. Normally I'm around 75, 76 on my fermentation for 565, which gives me a lot more spice. I got it. Okay. The malts are nice. I get Pilsner. I don't get anything like Lazy Otter where he had that nice caramely taste, which I liked. I just get the Pilsner. I get the peach, but I taste that little off flavor way in the background. It's called iron. That's what happens when you beta test a floating dip tube that doesn't have the correct coating on something, and we find out shortly into the sitting in the keg that, you know, I'm gonna replace a piece. Yeah, so it's not gonna hurt me, it's not gonna kill me. If anything, yeah, it's gonna get a little iron in my diet, and you're talking parts per million, but That's all it takes to change the flavor is parts per million. It is drinkable. Some people might not notice it, to be honest. Some people might actually like it. If a woman's not eating a lot of meat and needs some iron, there you go. My wife used to crave steak because she always needed iron. And then when she was pregnant, oh my God, it was like all she craved was steak. So yeah, it's nice. I think it would have been a much better beer had I not been beta testing something or doing a million experiments all at once. But it is nice. I wish I could remove that little hint that I can taste because I know it's there. I can tell it's there, and it is what it is. So thanks again for joining us here at Bitter Reality Brewing. Don't forget, like, subscribe, keep sharing. Definitely appreciate the sharing. Thank you, and cheers.